Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 100 Pictures of Honey. This is our April National Poetry Month extravaganza reading. I don't believe I've ever had six readers before, except with an anthology reading. So I'm very excited tonight to welcome these six in honor of National Poetry Month. I'm not going to be talking a lot during the reading because it's more important for you to hear the poems. But tonight we have six poets whose work is the very reason that we celebrate this month, right? Poets whose honesty and vulnerability and skill bring their readers and their listeners all the joy and humor and anger and pain and struggle and ambiguity of being human. So, in lieu of long intros tonight, I'll be using the chat to paste their bios and links to their books. You can support them by engaging with their work tonight, dropping some comments in the chat, buying their books, of course, and most of all, by remembering that our words have power and that this is why we celebrate and fight so hard for them to be heard. And so, with that very simple introduction, I'm going to let these poets take you away tonight. And our first reader is Brandel France de Bravo. Brandel? Brandel, it's all yours.
Yeah,
I knew I
yeah.
was going to say it wrong.
No, thank you, Donna, and thanks to my fellow poets and also just everybody for showing up tonight. It is April is the cruelest month, but it's also National Poetry Month, so welcome. I'm going to be reading from my new book, Locomotive Cathedral, just out last month, and I'm going to read a poem from. I have a bunch of poems in Locomotive Cathedral that have in their title the word resilience. They're different resilience poems. It's a series, and I'm reading these for a reason. So the poem I want to read, Resilience 3, it's a poem for a burning world. We're in a burning world right now in so many ways. But I'm also reading it as a reminder that resistance is a process, a way of life, not just an outcome. So I hope that's clear. It's called Resilience 3. Fire is an aria, not a red curtain. What survived? A filing cabinet, a pair of diamond earrings, a skillet. Fire is a sermon, not a pulpit. What survived? A wedding ring of gold, a hacksaw, a wrench. Fire is push and tear, not an infant. What survives? The blue taste of colostrum, defense against. Fire is a contest, not a medal. What survived? A porcelain sink, 2 spoons, a knife, some bricks. What's born in fire will not burn. What survives? The memory of being undone, reformed, to forge ahead. Fire is a gasp for breath, not a corpse. What survived? Seeds of scrub pine, lodgepole, and jack, sleeping beauties, all waiting for a furnace kiss. The next two poems, I'm going to read just three more poems. I want to keep it short and keep it moving. But the next two poems are from a sequence in the book called the titles have slogan in the title. And it's because that section of the book is inspired by a 12th century Buddhist text called Lojong. And there are 59 slogans to help the reader or the learner of these slogans cultivate mindfulness and sort of less self-cherishing and compassion. But they have kind of funny titles, some of them. So I found them a great sort of touchstone, a way to begin poems and to explore aspects of myself and my own shortcomings. So slogan 38 is, I hope you'll understand, kind of written in another voice, in a persona, if you will. And the name of it is Slogan 38. Don't seek others' pain as the limbs of your own happiness. So don't try pushing others down to raise yourself up, right? Schadenfreude is my housecoat, a little frock I throw on for modesty's sake. Your safety, because let's face it, I'm a knockout. Got gams like a Venn diagram, a fist like a fetal position. My pleasure peaks from three-quarter sleeves as I reach for a tray of bite-sized sausages. Just look at my backstroke. I'm a water wheel, catching your fall, grinding you into bread. My corpuscles are pink slips, my liver, all you cannot forgive in yourself. Give me your stooped, your sorry, give me a head hanging, and I'll make a step stool. Take a low blow and give me my pneumatic lift. And this one is, I hope, also maybe like the first poem, giving us something to chew on, a little bit of inspiration for the months and years ahead. It's called Slogan 4, Self-Liberate Even the Antidote. Fill the pool, knowing full well it's not the end of empty, that those who drained it, better no one swim than together, planted oaks where water was, a rustling shelter for fear. Cut them down, knowing roots, acorns, break ground, work around, clotted concrete. Listen to the sound of shovel against gravel. What does bone weary even mean? Be the cartilage that was never meant to last. And I'm going to close with this one. It's called After the Ecstasy, the Laundry. And it's, I can't claim that title. That's Jack Kornfield's, the name of a Jack Kornfield book, but I do love that title. And it was after my book came together as a collection that I soon discovered that laundry was a running theme in the book. It appeared many more times than I was aware of, and I'm frankly a little bit shocked. So, but it was also the reason why the cover looks like this, which if you look closely, Locomotive Cathedral, it's really a row of washing machines that kind of looks like a train. So that was my idea, my recognition of themes that I was not fully aware of. So after the ecstasy, the laundry. Window cracking, door padlocked. Another laundromat is closing. How far will people have to drive their dirty bedspreads? Headlights in daytime, snaking in slow caravans, black hefty bags in the back seat to some suburban strip malls sit and spin. My years of hoarding quarters, jam jar maracas, are over. Wheeling my wet load past oversized peepholes as I eye the red minutes, over. I don't have a private chapel devoted to laundry as seen on HGTV, just an in-unit WD. And so must most neighbors. Do I miss laundromats? Maybe I miss the locker room-like looking, the furtive interest surely shared given the rule to never air. Maybe I miss balling socks, folding underwear, quickly concealing the crotch on a long table where so many strangers' boxers, nightgowns have rested. Any raised surface can be an altar, a place to kneel side by side, mouths open to receive, eyes fixed ahead, staring into a sleeve. Another laundromat is closing, and I'm wistful for some imagined leveling, a there but for the grace gone, forgetting there's always been drop-off, and laundresses like silent confessors to Poundstone, Ring River, inhale the steam of hot metal communing with cotton. From a stacked dryer in the closet, I carry my tangled heap to the bed, spilling as I go. Is it lonely? Only as much as meditation. Fishing and folding, I think, justice, like laundry, is never over, which feels profound. Until in a bookstore, I discover I'm not the first to find wisdom at the bottom of a hamper. Maybe it's not how we do it, but that we all do, cycling through the stink and stain of it. An idea so soft from billions of washings, you can't help wanting to wear it. Many thanks. Looking forward to the rest of you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brandel. Such beautiful sound in all of those pieces. Such a beautiful blending of um, the everyday and the divine in those poems too. Thank you so much for that. Our next reader is Todd Dillard. Take it away, Todd.
Thank you, everyone. Brandel, that was wonderful and terrifying to follow. But again, it was such a pleasure to hear your work, and I can't wait to hear everyone else's. This first poem of mine, I'm going to read three new poems and two poems from my book, and I'll start with two new ones. This poem came from my daughter, who loves to hear about the many cats that I've owned in my life so much that I ran out of cat stories, and she started asking me to make them up. So let's see if you can figure out where the story I told my daughter ends and where the Toddness starts creeping in. It's called Practice Run. Walking home from school, I heard a kitten crying in a tree, its body braced against a switch-thin limb. I climbed up and took off my shirt. I had this idea I can make a net out of it, cast it over the kitten and drag it to safety. But as I inched across the branch, I slipped and the shirt drifted to the grass below. I kicked off my shoes and slid out of my jeans. I thought maybe if I laid them across the limb, the kitten would crawl onto a leg and I could tug it towards me on a denim sleigh. But the kitten leapt, raked my stomach, and lunged down the trunk. I grabbed the branch and let go of my pants, which crumpled beside my shirt. That's when I heard girls on the sidewalk talking. Something about Miss Nevisham's homework. I had barely hid against the trunk when Penelope from my class saw my clothes and screamed, "The rapture! Someone's been yanked to heaven." The girls argued. How could it be the rapture if they were still here? How could someone with a mustard-stained t-shirt go before them? It was one of those moments when the world turns away, no cars hushing down side streets, no airplanes puncturing clouds, all the dogs busy eating, all the wolves silently mourning the new moon. Why are we so alone? Penelope asked, in a voice like a train pulling away. Hi, sorry, I called from behind the tree. I'm an angel. The rapture hasn't happened yet. This was just a practice run. We wanted to make sure everything is working as intended. Oh, Penelope said. Makes sense, Fatima agreed. Is it bad that I'm happy? Carissa asked. But then an icy wind unfurled from the woods. Cold rain shattered on my back, and the girls, laughing and screaming, ran home. For the next hour, I held on, not crying, but wishing there was something, somewhere, who would save me. Years later, Penn still proclaims the end is near. The angels are just working out the kinks. Even as the rapture arrives, as her body brims with light and rises above our bed, she tells me not to worry. I know a guy, she winks. We'll get this sorted out. And afterwards, like the darkness that follows prayer, when all the stars are revealed. This next one I wrote today. Yesterday, at some point during the doom scroll, I saw a fact about turkeys and how baby turkeys don't know to drink water, and sometimes farmers put marbles in their water dishes to like they peck at the marbles and they learn to drink that way. I don't know if it's true, but this poem came from it. So, a small fact about baby turkeys is that they don't always know to drink water. So farmers scatter marbles in their water dishes, and the poults, lured by the marbles' shine, peck the marbles and learn to sate their thirst. For so long, all I could think about was my mother dying. First from worry, the addiction, the driving, and when she was finally gone, how bright, how immutable her absence was. I banged my head against it every day. Only later did I realize the water in my dish was you. Now you tell me to pull my fingers up your nape into your hair, and it's water. I lay beside our youngest and wait for him to fall asleep. And this, too, is water. For so long, I stared into this awful shine. But now, everywhere I look, I see water ready to drink. All right, and two from my book, um, which was out of stock on Asterism, but is back. So if you missed your chance, you didn't. Um, this poem is called Edna. My daughter is bored, so I tell her silverfish are neither silver nor fish, but a spoon-dull insect that loves kitchens, bathrooms, the mouths of children. Silverfish, silverfish, she squeals, the word peeling from her lips and crawling down her legs. She watches me knead the day's dough and asks if Kleenex are used to clean necks. The TV says a crane collapsed off 34th, and she wants to know if it's because the crane was thirsty. Some afternoons we visit the neighborhood pool, and even though she can barely swim, my daughter isn't afraid. She's so unafraid, it makes me afraid. She loves it when I pick her up and throw her as far away as possible. She loves to paddle back and scream again, again. But she loves it most when I swim away as fast as I can, when my back becomes a shore she's trying to reach. My daughters named the pool Edna. Sometimes Edna helps her reach me. When it's time to go, my daughter says, "See you soon, Edna." Every day, I am terrified in new ways. Last poem from my book for tonight. Again, Ragnarok at the Father-Daughter Dance. This poem is called How to Live. Depravity begins with thinking of love as a radical act. I quit loving with difficulty. I love easy now. Two parakeets on my shoulders. They'll fly away if I move. So I move. I love flight. I love cages left wide open. I am not a window. I could be a window. Open me, you'll find a dense wood, children wandering inside it. Not lost children. They know the way. They live the way horses run. If they each had a bird in hand, they would open their hands. All right, and to finish, another new poem. Um, After celebrating my friend's 8th anniversary of not killing himself, we find a microwave on the sidewalk with a note that says, "I work." My friend says he needs a microwave. We take turns carrying it to the F train. All night, I've been explaining the difference between being alive and still being alive. Even now, I could see how my friend loves me in the way he looks at me and smiles and doesn't tell me to shut the hell up. The thing with carrying a giant microwave a dozen blocks and down subway steps is it's heavy in a lopsided way. In our grips, the machine lurches towards its transformer, its magnetron. And my friend jokes, it's almost like because we're carrying it, it's alive. We fly beneath the East River and spill onto the street, apartment windows burning like 1,000 microwaves whirring. And my friend tells me not to worry. He's got it from here. Like a boombox, he heaves the microwave onto his shoulder. And in a second, the traffic and cigarettes becomes a radio station we're all listening to. The southbound geese braying, train brakes spitting sparks. Even the note I find, hanging by a scrap of tape to my sleeve. I and work scratched in thick pencil across the paper. And faintly, the word erased between them. Barely. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Todd. So if you've never heard Todd's poems before, you have now all experienced the Toddness and seen that you need more of it in your life, hopefully. Thank you so much. Wow, this is so great. Our next reader is Stevie Edwards. So, Stevie, it is all yours.
Hi. So I'm going to start out by reading a poem from my book, Quiet Armor, which came out in 2023. So this book is mostly about rape culture and toxic masculinity and just how upset I was the first time Trump got elected. Uh, right? Okay, so this is called 5 Days Before the Election, which was, of course, the 2016 one. 5 days before the election, and I don't want to feel the earth today because a rich man is in it who says he has the right to grab the most mine thing I can imagine, but maybe wouldn't want to because maybe I am almost 30 and have grown stately in myself these last 3 years, watched ass and breasts become rounder worlds and said, okay, I can inhabit more cells, can be the urn size of my grandmother's. And it is American to consider that he has the right to lead America, to gather the wrinkled hands of bankers and show them all the nooks and crannies, cloaking hushed treasures, teach them how to strip, the quiet armor women don when we are tired of eyes following our legs up staircases. I want to lie down in a riverbed, to let the water rush over until I am a cold nothing, touched only in the urgent pity of rescue divers dragging me back to earth. I want to let a man, a stranger, worry over my body, what makes it tick and gasp. I want to name each thigh dimple and raised vein, each flake of dry skin and stubbled hair, lest someone think they were ownerless, run their hand up my skirt on a bus like it wasn't a valued thing thieved. I want to be precise about how rich I am, how bountiful my folds of skin, this museum of a pussy, this grand opera belly. Let the government erect a fence around my yards of legs, lush country of bush and blood. Let me be a closed border, a private club. All right, and now I'm going to do something weird and read off of a hard copy just because it's what I'm used to. Um, but I'm going to read some poems from my manuscript in progress, which is called Childless Dog Lady. And it's largely about my choice not to have children as well as to not drink alcohol. Those two threads combined are a big part of what the book's about. So this is called My Dear Felicity, and it's it's forthcoming in Esterales. I hope I'm saying that right, Donna. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But it's a cool new lit mag that Donna's involved with as well, so I'm excited for that. My Dear Felicity, I have been dreaming you since the second grade, when I decided to name you after an American Girl character, when I learned the name meant intense happiness, which was something I didn't feel often as a child, with a brain riddled by ghosts nobody wanted to talk about. Felicity with the pigtailed strawberry blonde braids and freckles, Felicity with her nose cozied in the spine of a book, Felicity flying through the monkey bars, Felicity memorizing state capitals and dog breeds, Felicity, Felicity, Felicity. I named you the year my baby brother was born, a blob of colic and need, but he was my little blob to take care of when mom was too flattened by blood loss and the strain of sleeplessness and the funneling of time. He was mine, cuddling a stuffed tiger, slobbering on its ear. My felicity, my intense happiness. I am sorry. I haven't made the right life for you to sleep in. Each day I sleep in as late as I feel like, go to sleep when gravity is a blanket, pushing my muscles into bed. Each day I cook foods I'm told children don't like, chana masala, pasta with asparagus and peas, sesame tofu. Each day I read and write poems in the quiet guest bedroom, 3 pit bulls swaddled around me. Each day I take a small pill to ward off your gaining breath. Some days, Felicity, I am intensely happy. Had some tongue twisters in that one. This one is called Childless. A stranger's pregnant belly plops over elastic-waisted jeans, and a wish kicks its legs inside me. I wish it would sit still. Forest fires blaze through Quebec, orange smoke obscuring the sky of the mid-Atlantic, ushering in the new normal, tiger, tiger, burning bright, burning brush and rushing through subdivisions, making ash out of loved lives. Is delivering a child into the smoldering of the Anthropocene an act of selfishness or hope? Still, I want to feel my breasts milk heavy like little wine bags. When I hold my friend's tender newborn, I pretend she is my own. Journey out of her nursery into the secret life where I am a parent, where the little spittle on my shoulder is my daughter's spittle and therefore made lovely. Her tiny fists yank my loose hair and pull me back into the room where I coo and cuddle her as her big eyes search my face, saying nothing of the coming dark. And one more poem from that collection. This is called On Getting Paragard a Month After Trump's Re-Election, which was the earliest appointment. The tiniest metal coil winds around a plastic tea inside me, releasing copper ions to make of my womb a toxic climate for sperm. You will find no home here, gentlemen. Don't take off your scuffed shoes and sink into this sagging couch. The gynecologist says to check for 2 strings sticking out of my cervix monthly to make sure I am still protected against motherhood. She says not to worry about my husband feeling them, that the strings are soft and lie flat against my muscled walls like damp hair, which makes me picture brushing a small girl's hair before bed, spraying the detangler so it won't hurt. I am worried about the moral arc of the universe, that it's weak and bending in too many places, too many directions. I'm worried about weakness and bending and hurting. I've spent a decade trying to make of this life a refuge, a house with a guest bedroom friends can stay the night in if they've had too much to drink, or the dark reaches into their bones, or they're passing by on a cross-country drive. Child I'll never have, but once named Felicity, I have a small room for you, but not a country. And I thought I would end, so I've been doing a 30-30 this month, so I thought I'd end with today's poem. And for anyone who doesn't know what a 30-30 is, it's just where you try and write a poem every day for a month. And so far I have 17 poems, but 2 of them are haikus. This is called These Times, and it's after Adrienne Rich, and it starts with an epigraph from her. To have you listen at all, it's necessary to talk about trees. Flowering trees and shrubs blooming across our cozy subdivision leave the air thick with pollen. Cherry trees, dogwood, lilacs, azaleas, a shade of magenta I once thought only existed in the big crayon boxes. All this beauty comes, of course, with a price: allergies, pollen covering the windshield in the morning, the front porch steps packed with pollen. Meanwhile, men are disappeared into unmarked vans for having tattoos and last names that ring of otherness. I know you're wondering what masked men with guns herding humans like cattle are doing in this poem about spring. While I am trying to smell the lilacs, they are being transported to detention centers, which is a nicer word for concentration camps. I am interested in being kind, not nice. I don't know how to reroute the planes to El Salvador to undo the picture with the shirtless men chained together, one after another, sitting in the V of another man's legs. It is barbaric to write about azaleas without talking about the men in chains. Thank you.
Thank you, Stevie. Wow, I don't know that I would ever have the guts to read a poem I wrote that day. You and Todd both are like setting good examples for all of us to like trust our new work. And yes, Steve, my dear Felicity that Stevie read will be the second issue of Astralis, drops on Sunday, so you'll be able to read it there. Our next reader, and I'm very excited to hear this work, is CD Eskilson. CD, take it away.
Hello, thank you, Donna. Thank you so much for having me. Happy National Poetry Month to y'all. It's always April is always the cruelest month, but it is also a bright spot to have this community to look forward to and share work with. I am going to be reading from my debut poetry collection, Scream Queen. It came out last month, so she's only about a month old. But something that I guess there's important context for these poems is I deal a lot with examining queerness, transness, chronic illness through the lens of horror films and monsters. So just something to look forward to. And yes, yeah, Ruben and I have very similar looking covers. Gotta love a green. It's a good year for green book covers. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get started. This first poem is called On Witchcraft. Statues of Hecate show a triple-headed goddess, a being far too myriad for just one mouth. There's a longing for what's lost in shrines, engraved into a frieze, what's held inside a myth. My sibling knew defiance early on. Their buzz cuts, constant binder, new name at the bank and license photo. F walks through forests, filling clearings with their beard. Shows how to curse a compromise, pull the moon down with both hands. Just how enclosures took the peasantry from commons, witch hunts took the women from their bodies, is what I gleaned from Federici. I want to be the open field in commune, the strength that would provide. To covet in a word like them and reclaim multitude as gender. In cinema, the witch ends as stubbled sisters levitate through pines, their chorus claiming night. I order my capri pants, scroll through rows of summer dresses, text photos to a friend, and hope to find my Sabbath field. Reach out from disenchantment, still unsure of what to grasp. I scour terms for remedy that can also mean poison, land on pharmacon. The possibility, F shows me, though how little feels like mine, my chest beneath the pressing stones. A pride event where people call me Little F, so quickly lose my name. The rock soon disappears me. Each horror movie archives a resistance. The autopsy of Jane Doe shows how a body won't be dominated, skull split, drained, and still won't open. For Hex's pry, mortician's skin, I study and take notes. Is this dysphoria, revolt, or just reaction? My ankles chafe on ducking stool. I stalk beaches, pockets lined with gold and lead, draw shapes in the sand to summon what's enough. Fix my lipstick, bury men, stretch my spine into the sky. I conjure what I can't contain. This next one, a lot of the collection is also dealing with sort of legacies, inheritances, lineages of mental illness, chronic illness. So this poem is called Recipe for Roasted Broccoli. When my sibling says they don't feel subject to our father's mental illness, I focus on cleaving through the broccoli stalks, separating florets from the trunk, dousing them in salt and olive oil. I want to question the stem severed from its leaves, but this thread tangles when I start tossing with my hands. My sibling postulates how ordinary growing up was, how little would be known about what's heritable until later, until trying to form relationships and being too much every time. How our narratives eschew slipping rips and siren wails, my sibling says. I watch my broccoli in the oven as I nod, try to toss the stripped green artery into the kitchen trash, miss, hit the wall. I want a gesture that can prove them right. I want to glue the front door lock our father drove back to review every morning before work. To sand the floorboard his obsession tried to level. Last month, I tried cleansing sorry from my language, but didn't last the afternoon. I tried until it rained and knew whose fault it was. I knew our father would have folded long before me, would have blamed himself for gravity, would have safety pinned the drops back on the clouds. So something I'm also very interested in with having this book be about horror is as a lot of queer and trans folks are really find a lot of affinity, find a lot of affection for monsters, for horror films. It's something that's offers a sense of comfort, a sense of solace to see these othered beings and find commonality with them. horror is also a space that, has had a very contentious and adversarial relationship to otherness. Also, we have homophobia, racism, transphobia within horror films. And I think that's something I've been trying to contend with, is how to reclaim or how to repurpose some of these films. One of them being the 1983 film Sleepaway Camp, which is part of the sort of slew of slasher films where the big reveal is someone is a certain assigned gender that they are not. So that's what this poem is about, is at the midnight show of Sleepaway Camp. At the midnight show of Sleepaway Camp, my queers and I clear from the aisles, annoyed and damning the director, entering full takedown mode. A trans girl romps through teen stark cabins, the panicked cry of "she's a boy" to give this slasher its shock twist. Today, the image we're all killers remains deadly, has only grown more mainstream. But others in our group push back, defend the film. All huddled at a Denny's, we listen to them fawn over the catharsis in a murder fest, admit over plates of fries to dreams of wasting bullies, dropping angry beehives on assholes throwing slurs. From the ruckus of debate between our booths, the film's subversion sharpens. Critiques of gendered violence, forced dysphoria emerge. Can't we hold both readings of this movie to be true? No, there's risk in our vindictive gore, but that it offers a resistance, that we might carry on with movie nights and diner talks, the uneventful lot of it, an arrow pointed at the next abuser's throat. Can't we promise to slay whoever creeps these woods and return after to the quiet trees? Just two more. One is... So it's called Fan Mail for the Headless Horseman. In truth, I've never struggled to get head like you, but I won't go there. Like you, I've spent nights riding, barebacked, spooked a moan, chased men for what I lacked, and couldn't find it. I know how absence can become you, how to get lost compensating. The cloaked neck hole and tall collar, that damn pumpkin lugged around. How you've been gawked at in the liquor store, the bank, just like my face in bearded drag. Do you tire wandering the starkness, ever want to settle? Stay inside and slip from legend? As a kid, I stayed in watching Sleepy Hollow every Halloween till one year the DVD broke. I cried all night. I cried about so much then. Stale bread, face down swimming, rose thorns in my thumb. I thought God only offered pleasure, had abandoned all the rest. But what's my point here? Can we abandon what we've made ourselves? Could you ditch fog and wail to wear your pre-myth face? Could you be both things at once? Even as a kid, I wanted to-ness. Dressed up like a swamp thing and a princess till I cared what people said. Could say to me, potential violence is a potent weapon. Have you tried cleaving with a word? I excised girlhood but kept searching. Kept on hunting reclamation. Soon stopped looking in these woods. I willed being out of absence and what possibility could pass through. I learned to be a full-boned phantom. To hold my head, its flaming, and let every ember singe. The last one. So I live in Los Angeles right now, but I did my MFA and lived a while in Arkansas. And the time I was there was starting from around 2020. And the time that was sort of also the time when we've seen for the last bit, but sort of the initial sort of ramp up of all the anti-trans legislation that's been coming out. So the first spring I was there was when the first statewide health care ban for trans youth came out. And it happened at this time when there was this massive explosion of wildflower growth. And it was just a strange sort of contradiction in my head, or juxtaposition of this beauty, of this sort of like wildness, and then this sort of categorical violence and erasure. So I wrote about it. I wrote a sonnet about it. And this is Arkansas bans healthcare for trans youth. Ozark flowers coat the roadside with a quiet bloom of blue and violet. The yellow bursts find room between the grasses, grab at rays of falling light. I look out driving home and ponder how Despite rain and grazing deer, resilience lives. The denial of removal. Blossoms last till morning. Bring a smile. Show me how much I need stems cracking slabs of concrete. Spring struck life. Parked, I pick scabs off my arm and picture our survival. How flowers here resemble folks so beautiful they cannot help but dance alone in quiet rooms, who sway together, knit a field nobody else can scythe. Night swells, but we don't stop taking shafts of deserved sun. We hold our brilliance in dim hours. Thank you. Thank you.
So beautiful. I'm disappointed because I ordered your book and it didn't come before the reading.
Aw.
But it was nice to hear them first. Now I look forward to reading the whole thing. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just very excited about all of you, and so I'm going to move right on to our next reader, and that is Ben Kline. Ben.
Hello, everybody. I'm just going to read 3 poems from my latest book. I love the cover. I have to show it off because it has French flaps. And I marvel every time I get to see it. My friend George Gozum created the art and the design for the cover, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, this book is about Don't Ask, Don't Tell to Obergefell and what it was like to be rural and poor in those times. So it's kind of a different perspective on progress. And I realized today a lot of the poems in this book take place in parks. So I decided to read 2 set in the park and then one that's just a personal favorite. This is Plums. We made out on the granite overhang where he hustled the married women and men who came with cash he rolled tucked in his jock. He told me love craves time and he had youth. I had plums chilling in the cooler next to the beer. I lifted his shirt. He showed me all their names folded in his wallet. We spoke each one in a dipped tongue, clove and dirty thumbs, rubbing our bellies pale. Oak leaves between bolt and thunder I ignored. Drops smacked the rock, slid into, after each name, my mouth. All right, and now for a little humor. Science and culture advance one gay wedding at a time. All the sex, matter, and energy remaining too much. An endless red rover of lovers I can't name, racing for more space and my time. I always go back to lovers, don't I? Several hundred one-offs and a dozen boyfriends in rows categorized by columns like scent or new and or unusual fetishes. And then I blame them for taking my energy, every matter too much, trying to experience my every open end like a quantum event, innumerate possible outcomes, but I only get invitations to midweek 3-ways and all weekend ceremonies instead of the thrill of anonymity I wished lasted longer. Of course, I'm not dismissing progress. Marry at will, queers. I'm here for new forms of fucking, gay retirement on Saturn's moons, graphene space speedos, free young minds, undoing traditions and mores, multiplying former binaries like canaries in the gape, while I'm in the feckless grip of waiting for new lovers to touch who touch me back. Send them over. They can attend my wedding. They can tux, dance shirtless at the reception. They can expend energy on fake names. But I know the formulae for light speed, scrolling my spreadsheet's empty cells. The lovers who lied, who fleeted like diamine ghouls, their last column labeled maybe, maybe not. I love that poem. And I'm going to read the cover artist, my good friend George. This is his favorite poem in the book. Sometimes I choke up at the end because it takes a dark turn. Mitigation. I strut toward the 6 lawn chairs unfolded in a solstice ring under 3 sycamores, the shade dancing over Gary's bare deltoids and Shane's biceps as if this summer resembles any we've known. Mike's switchblade undresses a dry brute cava to complement cheddar cubes. Rob lifts with tongs and napkins, Ari's gloved hands hovering the tray lap to lap. Decades ago, I sucked 2, 3 dicks at a time under these trees, including a couple belonging to men inside the circle. I liked the risk of daylight swallowing my shame and the thrill of new friends entering my life like an answered prayer. Robins choir our chatter, rainbow masks separating our smiles and air kisses, the blade flinging the cork into the canopy, littering a napping chipmunk's den. This is our second plague. I wonder at our insistence to find love in death's every day. And now I'm going to read 2 new poems. And they are about getting old, which I know I'm not old, but I turned 50 last year and I have feelings about it. All right, this is called Serenade to 50. 50 surprised me like a firefly trying to use my eye as a mirror, not a window to why my knees party like rainbow Rice Krispies. 50 invited me to the floor more often, to the less time left side, the dry end of the field too many uncles and friends never stepped on. 50 was the first time I understood the full threat of bless your heart. Its bitter weight for consequence, my whole eye roll mitigating the daily follies of tyranny, oligarchy, and acquiescence. 50 fills my lips, yet promises less to carry. Every store has scooters, ramps zigging toward doors. 50 says slow down as decay, commonly called time, rushes forward, chasing the end of light, looming like a jump scare in a film called 50 is the new 25. 25. A fully erect lie, prelude to nothing, not even a hint of disappointment. 50 disappointed me with its middling hurrah. The cupcake party my lover threw over too soon. My liver, neither mirror nor window, just a sack slung low with gin and Crisco. All right, I'm going to close with a poem from my British pamphlet that's going to come out later this year. It's called Stiff Wrist, and it's a whole collection about sort of hitting a certain age and progress and relationships and technology and stuff, but also a lot of nostalgia. And anybody a Young and the Restless fan, this is all about Young and the Restless and my favorite diva, Catherine Chancellor. Décolletage. Catherine Chancellor emerged from her donut of bandages weeks after her on-screen facelift, still not young, but defiantly restless, her bejeweled talons clawing the gauze, her maid Esther keeping the mirror too far to break. Maybe it didn't happen that way. The clips online don't contain the entire scene anymore. I recall Victor and Jack helping her keep it a secret. But my memory, like my décolleté, has begun to crinkle like hers. Even after the lift and lasers, all the cream and silicone seals I apply, it's still rivulets of thirsty flesh, a papyrus on which time writes the saddest lines about my 50 years of breakups and tank tops. I'm supposed to embrace my leathery cover and fill it with tales of the farm, our 12-hour days baling hay, fixing fence and steers, flooding groundhog burrows with the honey wagon, our only break an hour for lunch, with Catherine cackling about her latest scheme against Jill, her hair shellacked to impervious perfection as she tells Victor the whole tale, calling him my boy, the same way he says it to every lackey he employs. Oh, how I wanted a man to talk to me like that. Maybe more than I want to rejuvenate my neck and restore buoyancy to my chest and cheeks. to continue to know desire outlasts every crack I spackle in the mirror so close I can't fake who I've become for who I want to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Those were amazing. I love that everybody's reading new work tonight. It's so great. And the hour has flown by. We're already on our last reader. So I'm going to just go ahead and pass it on to Ruben.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, what a lineup. I've enjoyed listening to everyone. It makes me so nervous now. I'm gonna read a couple from my new book. This is it. Nice and green. Well, you'll see it behind me too, obviously. But and then I'm gonna end with a poem I just finished a couple of weeks ago. That's from a new project. This is Country Words for America. A word unheard to hullabaloo, cub chew, I slurred namby-pamby to, aloud in a crowd combing my hair in a honeycomb house, and a pair approached the door, confer a barbed cry not heard before in this jungled sky. Queer fandangled words blanket the air amid unswept rooms, caribou herds gutting white-haired moss chew gummet loose, a four-flush scared juicy calaboose, rice truck, quirly pross, roostered western glow, brassy Betsy Ross, spangles in tow. That was fun to read. I'm going to read poems I've never read before. So two more from the new book. This is Liebestad, which for some reason I listened to a lot of Wagner when I was in grad school, and this is from that, or inspired by that. Liebestad. Dear listener, you've come to expect this version of a love story. The drizzle of love's fog descends to wreck families, leaving two lovers collapsed into each other's arms. You'd hoped it would end another way. Maybe this time events would contravene the conventional, but after centuries, the unraveling of tradition, even in a story, leads to death. And yet the imagination awakens to evening's effulgence. Intuition sways you to seek the final embrace of dissidence. These are not light poems. A majority of these poems were written when, and it's a little difficult for me still to talk about. In 2016, I learned I was HIV positive, and I wrote many of these poems before I had learned. I spent many weeks very ill, and I wrote a lot during that time. This is the way the world ends. A body at rest is the color of a new moon, a hue so dim you begin to imagine your own body glows in the pitch of night. Before bed, peel the scabrous coat off your face, flesh pressed and gone to bone, dried out like jerky on the bathroom floor. Nothing survives without water. This is the will of the body. This cannot be undone. Moments later, a bang was heard. Few were awake when it happened. A deafening whistle rattled the brain. The world went mute. This cannot be undone. Then came a heat. The world's heat rose to meet the body's blood boil. This is the will of the body. The body splits into atoms, faces yawn into skulls. We become undone. So I'm working on a new project that takes the vantage point of a flight attendant from the future. She's looking back. And in this future, we're not sure what is human and what is not. So this is called Last Known Record of Human Voice, exhibit number 090846-mu. Here, behind the glass, we find a voice, trapped and forgotten, folding inward like light in an empty church. Listen, this is a child's breath hissing into digital amber. Each syllable flickers in the passing wide mouth of light caught between centuries. It speaks in a tongue we no longer study. Mother, hunger, sky. Words worn smooth and meaningless as the wind against stone. The observers, we have debated. Was it grief? Was it love? When prompted, the quantum architect offered a probability matrix. 83% longing, 12% instruction, 5% error. Back then, when we plugged in, they named this sound laughter. A rupture in silence like luminous cosmic thread where the body once lived. You there. You there. Lean closer. Can you hear it? The last exhale of a species trying to remember itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, everyone. All six of you were amazing. And like I said at the beginning, this is exactly why we celebrate the arts, we celebrate poems. The words have power to make us laugh, to make us think, to make us tear up, and are important for us to protect as much as we can. You were all amazing. I'm so pleased and full of gratitude that you all said yes to do this. Thank you so much to our audience for being so wonderful. I'll have a chance to go through the chat later and maybe send some comments to the readers because it's hard to read and look at what people are posting. And again, if you know someone who missed this reading tonight and is going to be sorry that they did, the readers, I will send you to the link to the video all later this evening, and it should be up by tomorrow for everyone else to enjoy. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording really quickly.